Hello and welcome to the iRacing Esports Network and the Acuta AOSC Super Series presented by Apex Racing TV. My name is Sam Fitzpatrick, and alongside me to take you through this evening's action is Daniel Leet with Scott Newton on the cameras, and we're here at the legendary Oran Park track. Daniel, a circuit famous for the fact that unfortunately it's not quite like this anymore. It's a housing estate now, a shopping mall, I believe. However, it lives on in iRacing, and we're very pleased it does.
Yeah, exactly. Evening to you, Sam and Scott. Thank you for coming on and helping again. And to all the viewers out there, great to have you on board as well. But yeah, as you say, I mean, it was a fantastic circuit through the 90s. Unfortunately, now no more with some of the development that's gone on through Sydney. And fortunately, we're lucky enough that we still get to run, as you say, here on iRacing. And I think from what we've seen so far throughout the course of this season, another great night for what we're expecting from the AOSC.
Absolutely. So just a reminder, a 150-kilometer race coming up for you today. That's 57 laps around this very short circuit. Sometimes 650 kilometers. That'll be next week at Montreal. But today, just the 150 kilometers. Single drivers in each of these supercar machines. We're currently in a 20-minute qualifying session. I got about 10 more minutes of this qualifying session to set the grid for this round 6 of the season. A big thanks, of course, to all the sponsors of this championship, which make this series possible. Acuta Solutions, of course, the title sponsor, providing rigging hardware and safety equipment. Next Level Racing, working on racing and flight cockpits, and also be providing a direct drive base to a driver this season. Abritzi Racewear, providing custom sim and custom real racing gear. Motum Simulations, we have VR racing centres all around Australia. Knight Rider Designs, creating personal liveries for drivers and teams. Wolf Graphics, providing personalised stickers and signs. Sam Blacklock Media doing the race highlight photos for this season, which you can see on the AOSC Facebook page, and also Race Management Service, who will be doing the live race control for all rounds of the series and helping out with setting up the sessions amongst other stuff. So like I said, we're currently in qualifying, and so far this season, Daniel, it's been quite clear who's been on top of the championship. James Scott has been absolutely sublime, and whilst he's been challenged at every round, there's not really been one other person to fight him consistently throughout the season, and it's allowed him to build up quite a handy advantage.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, well, we saw throughout the first 4 rounds, James very, very dominant early on, getting some really solid wins and great podiums. And as you say, 500 points now clear over Kyle Stokes. Very, very good for him. Now, quickly on Kyle, he's actually recently just changed teams too, from ERT now moving over to Synergy Sim Racing during the off week last week. So one of many moves throughout the course of the championship standings, but we'll touch on those later on. But for the guys a little further down, the likes of your Jamie Mackey's, Harley Haber, Thomas Inns, not that far behind and pretty close in contention there to jump up into second spot.
Yeah, it's really closely fought just behind Scott, and all the way down the field, of course, there's so many competitive drivers who so far have had a little bit of a tricky season so far, and so there's, still 10, 15 drivers going into each and every round, thinking that they're going to have a chance of a race win. And I guess this is a good opportunity at getting a race win, Daniel. This is a really tight and twisty circuit. I mean, it's so tricky to overtake around this place. If you can get yourself on the front row of the grid, if you can get into turn 1 in the lead, you're going to be tricky to beat. And also the strategy as well, going to be crucial today. Is it worth going for the undercuts, knowing that it's going to be tricky to get back past you later on, but at the same time, you might come out in traffic and you're going to have a lot of cars to overtake. It's a real brain teaser, today's race.
Yeah, definitely. I would expect we're going to see a lot of guys potentially looking to do the undercut run. As you say, the run down through the Little King through turn 1 down into the tight braking at 2, and then pretty well over the top of the bridge. We can just see in the back of shot there. Very hard to overtake. It's pretty well one-line traffic throughout there until you get around to the back section. You've got that really fast kink that the guys will fly over before they dive down to that final corner. So a couple of good passing opportunities if they can set them up right there at the end of the straight and running down into turn 2. But going to be really interesting to see how they want to play, obviously, with the strategies tonight.
Definitely. And so far on pole position is Andrew Gilliam. No top 10 shootout today. We saw that at Moss Sports a couple of weeks ago, which was very exciting witnessing that. But that's not going to be back for a few rounds yet. So I'm just having a bit of an excursion off the track. A lot of cars out on this circuit. I mean, it's going to be tricky to get in a clean lap, as you see the drivers having to go off the circuit, half the drivers off the circuit, just trying to make way because there's nowhere else to go in order to let your compatriots pass.
Yeah, and that's one of the tough challenges that all these drivers are going to face out here. Obviously, everyone's going to want to push for a hard lap and getting a clean out lap to bring the tyres up to pressure and set yourself up for a clear run. Going to be very, very hard to do. And you see a lot of guys really dropping off very early on in the lap, allowing those quick guys to come through. But then you've got to try and find that little bit of a gap. And I know a lot of these guys will have their spotters working overtime to try and find them that little bit of air that they need to go out and set a great lap. You see another car for DPR just running off wide there as James Mackey goes around for a lap. But space is going to be ever critical, and it's going to be absolutely key to getting a fantastic start at the front end of this race.
Yeah, absolutely is. It's a decent run down into turn one, but then after that, of course, it's really tricky to go side by side. Certainly going to be an important start if these guys are going to finish on the podium. But yeah, currently the 201 car, Gilliam on pole, Ross in second place, Davison in third, and Sam Sutton in fourth. It's a little bit more of a mixed up grid, I guess, than we've seen in the past. So yeah, it could be a tricky situation for some of the top rounds to get through. You see Scott, championship leader, down in fifth place at the moment. McKee in seventh, Stokes in eighth. That's the top three in the championship. So could be some good opportunities for these guys. Here is Andrew Gilliam trying to improve on his lap time at the moment. 5 sectors we have around this circuit, which is mind-boggling, seeing that I think this could get away with 1 sector, such as the length of the track, just over 1 minute. The lap times are GT cars will probably be able to get it below that as Gilliam comes around the final corner. Very much surrounded by the walls. We see a bit of an impact just behind as well. Gilliam crosses the line, and that's quite a bit slower, about 1.1 seconds slower than his best time, maybe just setting up for lapping. Has got a little bit of a gap in front of him. This could be an opportunity to extend that advantage that he currently holds. I'm just looking, James McKee setting a couple of purple sectors recently on his best lap, but wasn't good enough to go into a pole position, and having a little bit of a slide as well coming off the bridge.
Yeah, and that's going to be probably one of the key points here, as you say, that slide through the bridge. We saw that a lot back when we used to see the V8 supercars in real world. Around here, it was one of the harder parts to get the most out of it. And this little kink as we ride on board, trying to get the cars straight and fired down and to get a really solid run through this final call. You want to bring the exit right up against the walls. We can see the guys here almost threatening to go down pit lane, which that's going to be a really key talking point later on in the race, watching the guys dive into that. But you really need to maximise the way you run these cars through here, and we're seeing that on screen right now with James Mackey.
Yeah, of course, if you skim that outside wall in qualifying, then your lap is invalidated. You might go faster, it might be the faster route, but your lap time will get invalidated. Of course, if you dip a wheel onto the grass as well, you'll pick up a 1x. So got to very much keep it within the confines of the track. McKee is getting into a little bit of traffic. He might be quite fortunate here. They could maybe be a bit off-putting. Could be advantageous to have a little bit of a car just in front of you. Thomas Hines coming around the final corner. He's currently sitting in 17th place. Not too many changes at the top of the stands as we usually see in these qualifying sessions. Usually the best times being set early on, and then as the track sometimes warms up with the cars constantly pounding round, and with the time of day getting a little bit later, the track can slow down just a little bit. It's currently 3:15 in the afternoon in Sim, so it'll be a little bit cooler for the race. 39 degrees track temperature. Not too bad conditions, but certainly far from the most optimal for these guys. As I'm just seeing Jordan Ross, as Ross just moved up into second place. I think McKee as well in third place. So those guys are putting in some good times to just elevate their place.
Yeah, both those drivers moving up. Still about half a tenth behind from what we're seeing from Andrew Gilliam, not much between at all. You can see the timing up on the left of screen there. Absolutely nothing between all these guys. Jordan Ross pretty well right there. Mackie only a tenth of a second behind. So any real opportunity he's got is going to happen right about now. There's quite actually a lot of guys sitting down in the lane still, maybe holding off their last flying lap.
Well, they've got to get out quick because we've got 1 minute 20 to go. It's probably, well, you probably need about 1 minute 10 from pit exit to complete a lap. Of course, with this new tyre model, you want to really go as fast as you possibly can on your outlap. Unlike the old tyre model, where you wanted to absolutely crawl around, keep the tyre pressures nice and low. On this new one, you want to heat up the tyres. Not too tricky to do in these super powerful supercars. As Jet Bennett moves up a few places, up into 16th place. Ahead of Stephen Varga, who I think has got the fastest third sector, just out of nowhere, as Varga, which is just shows how competitive everyone is, and maybe just not putting it in the perfect lap, but he knows how to do the middle part of the lap. That is undoubted for Stephen Varga. Unfortunately, he can't improve on this attempt either. He's about, well, he's only 8 tenths of a second off, not even that, 7 tenths of a second off a pole position time, yet sits some 15 places further back. Danny Davison, I think, has just improved on his time. So up into third position now as Davison gets back ahead of James McKee. And he's going to go for one last effort. 8 seconds to go. Gilliam runs wide at the final corner. That's not going to be an improvement unless he's trying to square off his launch. I don't think he's made it to the line though in time, and today comes into pits.
Yeah, so that'll be the conclusion there. We've still got quite a few guys running around trying to get a lap in to finish it off, but I think majority of these now are going to be pretty well done. You see Michael Taliancic just going across the line. That'll be his finish there done. There's about 7 or 8 guys still left to complete their laps, so we may potentially see 1 or 2 guys move just a little bit further up the order.
Here comes McKnight. He's set a couple of green sectors so far in this lap, and he does not improve though. He's about 2 tenths slower. That's a little bit of a disappointing qualifying there for Jamie McKnight, but always a Joe who moves up in the race. Oh, big spin there, and I imagine Kristen Smart's got a 0x in that, making a bit of contact. I think it's an invalidated lap time. No, it was a legit lap time, but still not any faster. It remains in 13th place. Unlucky for some, lucky for others, perhaps. We'll see if that one works out. Carl Stokes currently in 12th place. James Scott down in 6th. I believe that's Scott's worst qualifying of the season, and this isn't a great place to do it. So just looking at the grids at the moment, very possible we're going to have a new race winner perhaps today.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, looking at where the guys are, Gilliam's really in the prime spot here. He and Jordan Ross are going to get a fantastic run going off the front row here. But for James Scott, being a little bit further down, and we say a little further down, currently in 6th, he's got a little bit of work ahead of him. Probably not going to be the start that he would have wanted being that far back, but he's in a good position here to get going.
So the grid then for this round 6 of the season, it's Andrew Gilliam on pole position, 1/1000th of a second ahead of Jordan Ross. Incredible. Danny Davison lines up in 3rd place with James McKee in 4th, and it's Sam Sutton, James Scott, of course, championship leader, Tom Freer, Job Stewart, Matt Morris, and Michael Taliancic rounding out the top 10. There's Adam Briggs, Carl Stokes, Kristen Smart, Daniel Ackland, Kenneth Latzer, Damien Johnston, Jet Bennett, Stephen Varga, Thomas Hines, Philip Worley, Marlon McCullen, Reese Keane, Brett Loxton, Andrew Dyson, Paul Preston, Jamie McKnight, Scott Gamble, Todd Parks, Paul Lee, Stuart Crawford, Rob Bowden, Daniel Misdale, Jaden Borg, Gavin Cox, David Kimmons, Craig Anspach, David Miller, Simon Vela, Greg Sharp, Chris Barnes, Robert Crisdell, Alex Court, Tony Gapper, and Brian Borg. Watch out for Borg, certainly from 4th to 4th place on the grid. I think has won, or certainly got some good results so far this season. Brian, and hopefully will take the start, Will Brinton. So the Jazz have got 40 more seconds to get onto the grid. We still haven't got Taliancic on the grid, but now he does take his rightful position there, and yeah, just got a couple of other guys further down to come through. Of course, run to the line. It's a decent length one, but we could see some collisions through turn 2 potentially as the lights go out. And Gilliam tries to pull away from the rest of the field. Davison straight away with a Vega start, gets him ahead of Ross. Also good start for Scott and Freer as McKee and Sutton fall down the order. Straight away off the circuit, I believe it's Daniel Ackland having big issues further down the order as they try to muscle their way into turn 1.
Yeah, big runoff, very wide there. Looks like he's been able to keep that car out of harm's way there, which is good. So everyone getting through. We've got a really busy mid-pack though, 2 and 3 wide as the guys funnel their way through, but a fantastic start there.
Yeah, it was a Vega start for him. So Gilliam leads by 1 second so far. Davison in second place, Ross in third, as Jet Bennett has a couple of cars going side by side just behind him. Seems to have got through pretty cleanly, has Bennett so far up 2 places. Carl Stokes having a very tricky time just behind these guys, with Marlon McCullen having an awesome start, up 5 places. Bennett just trying to figure a way out to get ahead, as Andrew Gilliam is, well, all the drivers looking as though they're going to come into the pits, but just about avoiding it, as you can see the massive gap that the race leader already has. Davison and Ross going side by side. Ross trying to take back that second place, and he does take it back. So brilliant jump from the 143 car. That's a crucial move in order, if he wants to win this race. Gets back up into second place, and now Davison's going to be under big pressure from James Scott, who's on a charge himself. Scott really has to make this move nice and early if he wants to keep up with the top 2.
Yeah, definitely, and he'll be applying a lot of pressure on the back of the EXG Mustang right in front of him, and that'll continue all the way through the remainder of this lap. A little further down, we've got a few big movers there. Jamie McKnight moving up, David Miller a little further down, Simon Varga all moving up, Adam Briggs as we ride on board with him, currently up 3 spots from where he started for DPR Racing, so a good solid run from him, and he's now up inside that top 10.
Yeah, nice driving from the 72. Already moving on to lap 3 are the leaders. Of course, you can check out the live time to see all the changes of positions for the drivers, the intervals between each of the drivers. That's in the description below, provided by SDK Gaming. Very useful to figure out what's going on in the event. James McKee under big pressure at the moment from Joe Stewart, but looking at that relative, remaining in 6th position at the moment, so it's still quite successful for him. These 2 teammates, I believe, so we'd hope that they're not going to make contact, but you would never rule it out. The 2 Pursuit Sim Racing just of course behind their teammate as well in 5th place, Tom Freer, one of his best races of the season. But Gilliam already 2.3 seconds now ahead. This is remarkable how he's continuing to pull away. Even now that Ross has got some free air, Gilliam is sprinting away. He'll just need to hope that we don't get a safety car.
Yeah, definitely. I'm really surprised to see the benefit that he's, or the advantage that he's gained already. I mean, last time by, there was only 0.4 of a second between both himself and Jordan Ross crossing the line. We'll focus on Ross here in the Synergy cars. See everyone funneling through down for lap number 4 here, but the pace in the car at the moment for Gilliam very, very strong right now, and I think looking at how he's going to continue to extend further back though. James Scott right up on the back of Davison, the lights flashing as well, so he's trying to make a move there in that 4th spot also.
Yeah, it kind of just feels though as the longer that Scott stays behind, the less likely a move's going to be, just because Davison's going to learn where he's faster than his rival. It is so tricky to overtake around this place. It's surprising that Ross managed to get past Davison quite as quick as he did. It seems as though Davison just didn't really cover the inside line going into turn 1, and the move was very possible for his rival. Tom Freer, of course, losing that place to James McKee just a moment ago, but they have pulled away from the other drivers. Got a massive queue of cars. At the moment, McMullen just getting past Varga, for 14th position. That's going into the final corner. They're still side by side, and now they're going to be under pressure from other drivers such as Stokes and Hines. Stokes with an awful start. Will he try to make this one 3 wide? No, he does the wise thing, just gets his car to the inside. He wants to pick up the pieces from this battle. He can't afford to possibly go wide at turn 1, otherwise they're going to go off into a different Australian state, I imagine. And McCullen actually defending that position. You can see they're all on the inside, and they do remarkably well not to all collide with one another. And from looking like he was going against the pace of Stokes, having to look in his mirrors all of a sudden again. It's really been a very tricky start for the second place driver in the championship.
Yeah, definitely. Kyle down 4 spots from where he ultimately started, so a lot of work still left for him to do. Plenty of time, though, on the books for him to be able to get back up. We know we've got 57 laps here, so a long way to go. And this is now where he's going to have to start considering the strategy options and seeing what he's going to do. Will we see him come in a little bit earlier, try and get out of that sequence and maybe find himself some clear air? Danny Davison still currently sitting in 3rd. James Scott just a little further back than what we saw only half a lap ago when he was crossing the bridge there and had the lights ablaze. So Davison's found just a little bit of something that's helping him move forward. So James Scott, James Mackey just settling down. So pretty much the top 10 starting to get a little bit of gap between everyone here now, but out front, Andrew McCullum still getting away. Jeff Bennett up on screen now. He's in a myriad of cars there, trying to go a little bit defensive actually and hold off some of the guys behind him.
And once again, it was Stokes trying to get past Varga, and it didn't quite work going into turn 2. It seemed like a bit of an ambitious move for him, and once again, Thomas Hines keeping him very honest behind, almost getting the cut back on his rival. Fantastic to get an onboard at this point, because now you can see the twists and turns of this Oran Park circuit, a circuit which I'm sure many drivers won't be familiar with. Joe Stewart has gone off the circuit just ahead of these guys. We might flash past him in just a moment. There he is. He gets onto the inside, and he manages to stay ahead. Oh, I mean, come on, Carl Stokes, may as well retire at this point, because this is remarkable unfortunate for him. Matt Morris is also dropping down the order. Big issues for the 660 car. He hasn't come into the pits. He is just behind these guys, I think, past the start-finish line. And also Adam Griggs as well, so it's all going on with drivers having issues amongst that top 10 places. Whilst that's going on, we've still got all these guys battling simultaneously. Carl Stokes, he's trying to go around the outside on this occasion. The whole track is blocked just in front of him. Might make a move up going onto the bridge here. And that is what he does. So he is up 1 position into 14th. But yeah, Matt Morris down to 21st now. He was running as high as 8th.
Yeah, really unfortunate for Morris there. You've sort of seen, especially in the AMF series, he comes through really, really solidly throughout the course of the race. A little bit unfortunate for him here, down 12 spots from where he started, so a lot of work ahead. But he'll come back. We'll see that as the race unfolds. Kyle Stokes doing a great job. Although down a couple of spots from where he started, still sitting pretty comfortable. And here's another driver too. Last week we saw moving from Evolution Racing Team over to Synergy Sim Racing. So for the guys that may not be familiar with the new livery, that is the new team for Kyle Stokes.
Yeah, few changes going on in the last few weeks. Of course, 2 break weeks out of the last 3 weeks. So, I mean, the drivers got to do something after all if they're not racing. That is McKnight's. McKnight's had a pretty good race so far. He's up plenty of positions, up 8 places, I believe. Yeah, and he's just ahead of Jet Bennett and Matt Morris. I think Bennett may have just got past Morris. Sorry, Morris going past Dyson. Apologies. So much going on, and this is a massive pack of cars. Literally not more than 1 second separating everyone from Christian Smart in 9th place all the way down to Brett Loxton in 24th, and then even after that it's pretty close. Up into 10th place now is Marlon McCullum, so he's up 11 places, really taking advantage of a few of those troubles for other drivers. So he's been really very successful so far. He's now onto the back of Christian Smart, and 15 seconds off the lead. As McCullum around the outside of Smart, not on this occasion, apologies, on the outside of Sutton. So Sutton getting back past them.
Yeah, big move from Sutton there down the inside, and that was one of the key spots we spoke of just before the start of the race of where the guys will make a move. So Sam set that one up for quite a while back and got a nice run down there, able to hold off McMullen, which was really good to see. And this is all going to be one-way traffic as they work their way out from the bridge here. But Sam now got Christian Smart just ahead of him, and that'll be the next car he'll want to set his eyes forward on.
Yeah, I'm not sure how fast Sutton is because he started up in 5th place, had a dreadful start along with a couple of other drivers as well in those higher up positions. I think both him and McCullen are very quick and should be a little bit further up the order. Into the pits comes Sam Sutton then. Okay, so that's quite a bold tactic. Where will he come out of the pits? The pack is so close right now. I'm just thinking he might stay ahead of Brenton O'Brien, who's still got about a quarter of the lap to complete. So this could be good for Sutton. He might be able to come out in a nice pocket of air, and the undercut round here will be very, very effective, seeing that everyone else on the circuit at the moment is fighting with one another. Todd Parks with an off. He's dropping down. Here he is. Oh, that's a big impact. Well, how's he hit that wall?
Yeah, well, not too sure. We'll have to get a replay on that. And actually, we're hearing here that Sam Sutton had actual penalty, so that was a drive-through for him coming down the lane. So that's dropped him well out of contention, down into 36th position at the moment. But we'll cut back quickly to this replay and see if we can get a look at what's gone on here for Todd Parks. I think he may have done this one potentially on his own on the exit there. It's a pretty good run out and then just runs it really wide into the dirt. That's really uncharacteristic of him.
Yes, self-spin on this occasion, and massive unfortunate news then for Sam Sutton. Just shows the difficulties of this circuit as well. With the walls pretty close because you got that final corner where the wall is literally the barrier of the circuit. But even everywhere else, the walls are very threatening, and these tyre barriers are pretty hard on iRacing. So they're not going to move too much. So just hit with them, and that can be very costly. Brett Loxton has fallen off the track. He was running in about 20th place, but not anymore. He's not towed back yet. Of course, if we do see a tow back to the pits, then we will get a safety car. But Loxton has got back on his way, down into 30th place now. So it's dropped 10 places on that occasion, and this is how it happened. So another self-spin then for another driver, and back to the as we've got Stephen Varga now off the circuit. There's so many incidents going on for these drivers at the moment, and that is Varga way off the track. And I was saying earlier on how if you just go a little bit off the track, going through turn 1, you can end up in a whole nother city, and that is what happened to Varga. So he's dropped probably another 15 places, down to 29th now, as Varga was running as high as 15th earlier on. Great shame for him.
Yeah, a little unfortunate there, but he will be able to come back through, and no doubt we will see him working his way back up. Adam Briggs, though, right now got a mirror full of Job Stewart. These guys worked their way down through the final corner, about to come up on the front straight to complete lap 13. Right in front of these guys, McMullen not that far ahead, only half a second at the moment as the guys fire down.
Yeah, this is one of the closest battles still out on circuit, going back to Carl Stokes in 13th place. Briggs not feeling as though he had to defend there, although he was under a whole lot of pressure at the same time. Seems like though maybe he's smart to McMullen, just figuring out, probably best that we just stay in line at the moment, not fight too much, because still only half a second between themselves. But I imagine these guys are a little bit further down, particularly Carl Stokes. Maybe feels like he's got a little bit more pace, because we're going to come into the pit window very soon. At some point, I think we had something like 47 laps, and I think drivers were coming in as early as lap 15, so probably around lap 20, and these guys are going to be eligible to get to the end of the race, of course, with very aging tyres towards the end of the event. But if you can put in some good times on those fresh tyres, get yourself an undercut, it can certainly be a very useful strategy. In the lead, 2 seconds, by the way, separating Andrew Gilliam and Jordan Ross. So it's maintaining at the moment. Dane Davis another 3.3 seconds back, and James Scott's running in 4th place. But not a whole lot happening, certainly amongst the top 8 drivers. No moves for pretty much ever since the opening lap of the race. And the big side was the driver behind Paul Preston there. I think it was Paul Lee. Kept it on the circuit.
Yeah, a little further up the order there is Reece Keane, up on screen at the moment for DPR Racing. Having a pretty good run actually at the moment, up 4 spots from where he started, currently running in the 18th spot. So pretty good effort for him so far, and no doubt we will continue to see him working his way forward. Next car for him up ahead, as you can see, Matt Morris, who is in turn working on the back of Andrew Dyson. So a couple of cars just ahead where potentially we could see him getting through there. We'll keep an eye on that though. And Dyson now going to have a huge mirror full of Matt Morris. Doesn't duck into the lane this time by, so continuing on again. But Morris will be looking for that inside run.
Yeah, Morris, another driver who's out of position, you think? 0.3 of a second behind, 0.4 of a second faster on that last lap. Turn 2 does seem to be the best opportunity, but you've got to absolutely nail that turn 1, and it's tricky to follow. Now he goes for a move though into 3, and that's a creative overtake, and he forced his way through. Legal, I think. I don't think he's going to get too much praise though from Andrew Dyson. He doesn't flash his lights, maybe that's not quite his style, but I imagine he'll be fuming in that car, being a little bit mugged into that corner, absolutely out of nowhere, and now he's spun it again, keeps it going, and that is a very disappointing few corners for him. Fortunately for him, he comes up to this very tight, twisty part of the track, and he doesn't get overtaken anymore. Trying to overtake just behind as well were a couple other drivers, Kimmond and Preston.
Yeah, that move there of Morris really did unsettle him there. We saw with the brake lock up, and then now ultimately falling back into these clutches. David Kidman right behind, Paul Preston and Phil Worley going at it as well. So we'll have to keep an eye here, but Dyson's starting to find himself in a little bit of trouble, and that car still sliding for him under.
Carl Stokes has got up into 10th place. He's got past Christian Smart, so I wonder if Smart and McMullen, after I was saying, oh, they're probably not fighting anymore, seems as though maybe they were fighting, and off the circuit perhaps went Smarts, and through goes McMullen and Stokes. It's disappointing for the 36 car. He's had a terrific race up to this point. Adam Briggs and Job Stewart will be looking to also get past very soon. Starting to work much better now for Stokes. He had dropped down to, I believe, 18th place at one point. He's back up into 11th. Bad news for him. He's 22 seconds off the lead, but a safety car, and things could change pretty quick.
Yeah, definitely. As we watch these guys close in under the bridge, a bit of an idea of what 22 seconds looks like is our leaders coming through about 4 corners from the end of the lap. So they're a long way up the road here. So a lot of work for these guys further back to do. And I'm really interested to see, I know we've touched on a couple of points, what are they going to do creatively for this strategy? Because they need to find themselves a little bit of room, and it's going to be near impossible if everyone comes in this last minute, which I wouldn't be surprised if that's how we see it, because no one's going to want to give up the track positions, but it's going to make it an absolutely chaotic finish to this one with everyone pushing on.
It really is. I guess it's always tricky when you're the leader in this situation. It's a whole lot more painful when you've got something to lose rather than something to gain. Now the driver's starting to slide a little bit more coming out of that final corner. Perhaps the tyres really suffering for these guys, overheating them a bit. Track is cooling down, I believe. It's got a little bit more overcast, though I say that, 38 degrees now, so it's decreased by 1 degree Celsius, so a small improvement, but yeah, it is certainly getting a little bit more overcast now, so I expect the track to cool down even more. Now 37 degrees. pace, just as I say that. Of course, these guys running around the track, such as the iRacing system, that will increase the track temperature, loads of different factors for these guys. So really fantastic, dynamic track that iRacing have enabled on the service for about a year and a half now, or for a couple of years, I believe. Certainly in terms of these drivers running around, of course, dynamic time of day as well. About 18 months old, and we are very pleased that it is on iRacing, undoubtedly.
Yeah, definitely. It really provides a great element to the way the setups come into play later on, and I think that's something that these drivers are all working very hard on to get the most out of. Up on screen now, though, Jaden Borg, and we had Brett Loxton, the recovering Brett Loxton, working their way up. That was a solid little battle further down the order. At the moment, though, Danny Davison still managing to stay ahead, though, of James Scott up in third spot. So this is a great drive from Davison, who we've seen come on very, very strong over the last probably 8 to 12 months in the GT cars, and really taking to these V8s like a duck to water. So he's setting himself up for a fantastic run here, and currently in that third spot. Little notice as well, race involving a couple of cars down the main straight. No further action, so race control checked that out, but that was a pretty wild start there with the guys 4 wide into turn 1.
Yeah, thanks to the stewards for doing this live streaming. It's a stressful job. It's a very demanding job. You've got to be very quick on your feet. You've got to be very decisive, and they do a fantastic job. Also, when it comes to the endurance meetings next week, probably 4 hours or so. That's quite a long time to be looking at instance, but hopefully they're enjoying the broadcast as well if they are listening along. We've seen this from James Scott's in the past, haven't we, where he's kind of just waited behind his rival. I think we saw it at Moss Sports a couple of weeks ago. Saves a bit of fuel, does Scott. He doesn't usually like to necessarily get done on track. But do you think there's a way into fighting for the win here? He's 6 seconds behind, so he can't just get that done with a nice undercut. It's unlikely that that's going to happen. What do you think his end goal here is? Do you think he'll take the third place, or is he scheming for perhaps a race win?
Look, I wouldn't put it past the boys at the RT to be coming up with a pretty crack strategy here right now. We know Scott in the long race has been very, very good on time management and fuel consumption. We're seeing that again tonight. The lap time's very consistent throughout this first 21 laps of the opening stint. So he's playing himself into really solid contention while he's falling off. He's saving a little bit of fuel at the moment behind Davison. You can kind of hear him just lifting a little bit and rolling in under brakes there as we watch the guys working their way up to the bridge here. But he's coming in really nicely. I mean, he will have a little bit of work to do to ultimately close that, but if he can save this bit of fuel like he's doing now, that will ultimately cut down the total stop time. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see him pop up second or potentially third, and maybe jump Danny Davison here.
Matt Morris has come into the pits from the top 20. Got had that off earlier on, I believe on like lap 4 or 5. Went from the top 10 down to about 20th place. Was making his way up, but comes into the pits. He will now be a lap down. There he is. Is this a long pit stop for him? I don't even think it is. I think it's literally just the length of the circuit rounds here. And this is the disadvantage. I mean, you lose probably about probably about half a minute coming into the pit. And so if you're, and that's half a lap around this place. So if you're more than half a lap down, you're just going to come back out in traffic. Then you've got blue flags to deal with. Then you're probably going to be faster than other drivers, so you kind of have to unlap yourself. So that's tricky for these guys further down. It's another element for them to think about. Certainly experience really useful in this situation. Adam Briggs has just got past Christian Smart now, so it's now Job Stewart's next up. Smart's who's run a good race, hasn't really made any mistakes. You can see a very clean car there, but just hasn't quite got the pace of these other drivers, and is whistling down the order at the moment. Like I said, Stewart next to get past. Then will be Damien Johnston. Jamie McKnight is continuing to have a very successful race. He's now up 11 places, up into 15th. He's a further 2.5 seconds back. Then you've got Hines and Bennett. Plenty of others as well, such as Sutton as well, further down the order. He are out of position. So a lot could happen over the next 35 laps or so. all across the field.
Yeah, definitely. I think we're seeing some little packs form up as we watch this battle here. Christian Smart just getting that car a little bit sideways, but the packs are really starting to spread out. For the viewers tuning in, obviously you can pull up the track map info on SDK Gaming, and you can get a really good bird's eye view of where everyone is around the circuit. We've got cars at pretty well every point on this track right now, and as you see, thank you Scott for bringing up on the overlay. There's not really a lot of room for anyone to get through. We have got a couple of cars stationary off the track, and I think Loxton may have just collided with the wall there.
And we've got a blown engine for David Miller as well, and Tony Gaffer. And this could be safety car situation, because I swear I saw smoke, and now all of a sudden all the drivers are bursting into the pits. They are anticipating a pit stop, so they feel like they need to get this done straight away.
Yeah, and that's probably not a bad move as we see race continuing on. We haven't had a yellow flag called at this point, and it looks like that slow car getting underway. So long way down the order, but has been able to move. So probably a smart move there from race control to allow this one to continue.
So you just saw the crash on your screen of what happened. I believe there was a blown engine, like I said, but of course you can, even from that situation, you can kind of rescue the car back to the pits. Loads of drivers have come in though, including some of the top drivers. Just, yeah, I think a few of them have. So Davison and Scott staying out though, at least. But this has certainly put the cats among the pigeons, and could really mix up this stretch here, because I think many drivers were anticipating a pit stop there, but it hasn't come, and now they are going to have to go for a very good outlap in order to make this stretch work. However, they could have very aging tyres near the end of the race. Do you think that was reactionary, or do you think that was maybe just, you know, we're coming to the point where it is worth coming into the pits, or do you think the drivers were genuinely thinking this could be a safety car?
Look, I think given the volume of cars we saw come down, a lot of people were possibly considering that we were going to get that safety car there. So a little surprised to see the way it planned out. To be honest, I'm glad it was able to continue as we saw all the cars being able to continue on. So it does spice up that little bit of extra excitement for where it is going. We've seen a few of the viewers in the chat saying that everyone was expecting that safety car. And yeah, I think it's interesting. It's a tough one from the driver's seat. Do you want to stay out there? Do you want to not? And I think for a few of the guys, the likes of James Scott now up the lead, he's got to now consider where does he want to come in. Obviously, he's going to have quite a fair gap over Gilliam, but he's still got that stop to come. And speak of the devil, he's in the lane right now.
Yep, so Gilliam maintained the lead, by the way. He's in a little bit of traffic. I'm really surprised that Scott didn't continue. He's now got a little bit of a cone now stuck underneath his car. That's a bit of a worry for him. That can affect his straight line speed. Not too much of a worry to be fair around this track. Freer and Taliancic then staying out. Lapter also into the pit. So Scott, he'll come up behind Gilliam. He might be ahead of Ross though. Here is Gilliam. A little bit of traffic. Ross has got less traffic. He's just overtaken Brian Borg, I believe. But where is James Scott? He's still stationary, is Scott. 16 seconds, 17 seconds. It's a quicker pit stop than his rivals. But I don't think it's gained him any positions. Ross has still got ahead of Scott, and it's about 2 seconds between the two of them. So not much of a change at the front of the order in terms of those guys, as Gilliam tries to take advantage of this battle. So he's got a gap to the other drivers, so he doesn't have to rush this too much. But this is really treacherous times. This is where the race can so easily get away from you. One bit of contact, one penalty, and you can all of a sudden be looking at a much lower finishing position. But Gilliam doing a very good job at the moment, just easing his way up through the order.
Yeah, definitely. I was a little worried there watching him work his way there past Paul Lee. Getting a good run though over the top of the bridge and pushing on there. The stop though for Ross, James Scott, a little bit longer than what we've seen from most of the cars that have come down the lane already. He was stationary for about 50 odd seconds. When we saw that run of Matt Morris, he was only stationary for 44 seconds. So A little bit extra fuel, maybe having gone in, or potentially even just missed the stop into the box there. So he's going to have to work a little bit extra harder out on circuit to close that gap down. But Gilliam doing a fantastic job out front, must be said. He's extending the lead. Next car up the line for him, David Kinman at the moment. And he's setting himself up for a fantastic run here to bring home for the final half of this race.
So just as a bit of a reminder, and you can check out how many pit stops the drivers have made by the STK Gaming live timing link in the description. I believe it was posted in the chat earlier on as well. But you can see all the pit stop times and when drivers have pitted. It's very useful in this situation because we've got Gilliam, who's the effective race leader at the moment. Then you've got Jordan Ross, currently 3 seconds splitting those two drivers. Then it's James Scott up into 3rd position. Then it's McKee. Davison had a slow pit stop, it seems. Lost about 3 seconds. So he's gone from 3rd place down into what will probably be 5th place because he's lost out to both Scott and McKee. So that's probably the big change so far that we've witnessed. And then it's McMullen, Latta, Stokes and Bennett rounding out what will be the top 10. Tom Freer and Michael Taliancic will be in amongst those guys as well. Here comes Jordan Ross. Just sticking his car down the inside, and that was simple enough there for Ross. Up into 4th position then, past Sam Sutton, who's yet to pit. Well, Sutton has pitted. It was for Drive then.
Yeah, nice easy work there for Ross to ease that car through. And as you say, Sam will have to still come down the lane again. Potentially later on, we'll keep an eye on that. But yeah, good work there for Ross, easing that car up. Still quite a long gap though between himself and Andrew Gilliam. That's blown out now to 3.5 seconds. So a lot of work for him to do to close that back down. But no doubt we saw towards the end of the first stint, he was able to start doing that, and no doubt he'll be able to do that again. Working forward, back up to Job Stewart though. He has got a lot of cars all around him right now. And you can see the guys working their way through. Brett Loxton just ahead of him, smart Andrew Dyson. Paul Preston involved in this, so a huge amount of cars working their way around the top loop.
And they're all stuck behind Vincent O'Brien. Currently, he's yet to pit. Everyone else has pitted. So he's the definition of a cork in a bottle because everyone else is going to be 2 seconds a lap faster, I imagine. But they can't get past. They'll be praying, at least the guys at the front of this train, that O'Brien will come into the pits and not really helping the situation at the moment. Is Loxton. He's diving down the inside into every single one of these corners, and it's just slowing them down more and more. O'Brien surely has got to come into the pits. What's the point in staying out? No, he stayed out. I don't really see the point in that, seeing that he's just going to lose so much time being overtaken anyway, because he's going to get freight trained now with drivers going down his inside. Still defending though is O'Brien. Loses 2 places on that occasion. It's great news for Loxton and Stewart, who have an opportunity now at pulling away. And all these guys are just, they're kind of asking O'Brien, can I come past, mate? But he's not really letting them go too much. He's still fighting around the outside. And oh no, now he has spun O'Brien and he's stuck in the middle of the circuit. And yeah, I don't really know. I guess that was the risk of staying out as long as that, because so many drivers trying to get past him. It did seem only a matter of time until he was going to make contact. That's a lot of drivers passing. Crucially, loses a whole lot of time. Here it was. There was another one of these kind of half moves down the inside, and maybe a little bit of netcode as well involved.
Yeah, I think a little bit of netcode involved. We also see Jaden Borg going off very wide there, able to recover that car as well. But a little unfortunate there. Probably, as you say, the lap earlier, probably the best time to come down the lane for that stop. But you know, O'Brien's still well within his right to help stay out there, fight on as he was doing, and just a little unfortunate with that netcode to ultimately rotate that car around. Matt Morris, though, currently working his way back up the order in 11th position at the moment. He's got Jeff Bennett just ahead, another one of the EXG cars out on track, and closing in, I think that's Kyle Stokes, only a second behind him as well. So he'll be under all sorts of attack there. And we're just seeing too from race officials, they've reviewed that issue with Brent O'Brien, and that is being deemed as netcode. So no further action between the O'Brien and Smart cars for that incident.
So everyone has pitted now apart from Brinson O'Brien, who I think will be in anyway very soon. So we've got Gilliam leading the race, 3 seconds ahead of Jordan Ross. So that's pretty much the same as it's been for the entire race. Those two very evenly matched. James Scott is up into 3rd place. He's another 3 seconds behind him, closing in on those top 2 drivers at the moment. James McKee is in 4th place. Danny Davison was up in 2nd place at the start of the race, then dropped down to 3rd, had a slightly longer pit stop though. So he's down into 5th position now. Michael Taliancic has got himself up into 6th. Tom Freer, another driver who stayed out for a while, is into 7th. Marlon McCullen having a superb race, up 13 places into 8th, and has still got very good pace. Kenneth Latzer is in 9th, and Thomas Hines rounds out the top 10. These drivers from kind of 10th down to 20th, who were all in a queue earlier on, have spread out quite a bit. We've still got a couple of them placed, like Stokes, with Keane and Johnston quite close behind, and Morris only just ahead. But on the most part, it has spread out amongst those drivers. But of course, we've got different strategies from all these drivers. Some drivers with fresher tyres than others, so it could change quite a bit. This man, Michael Taliancic, always one to try alternative strategy, master with the fuel, as we've seen in the Euro V8 Supercar Series, which you can see tomorrow actually on Apex Racing TV, our local YouTube channel. And he unfortunately isn't racing in that anymore, but we've seen some legendary strategy calls from him to go an entire race, for example, without pitting whilst everyone else has, and he comes out on top, very good with the tyres as well. That's what it's been like so far today, because he went 30 laps in his first stop. He's got 7 lap pressure tyres, and the drivers ahead of him. Bad news for him, he's got 8 seconds to catch up.
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, for Michael there, he's certainly got the capacity in that car to work it towards the front. He's got his teammate Tom Freer behind running rear gunner there, and he'll push further forward, no doubt. But he's kind of like that, a little bit of a touch there from his teammate as they work their way around up towards the bridge there. But we know Taliancic has the capacity to move these cars forward. Obviously, as you touched on with the Euro V8, it's very, very skilled in that car, and look for him to definitely work his way forward. Last time by, only a little bit slower than what we saw from Danny Davison, so he's slowly working his way forward there as the guys working their way past Brett O'Brien as well.
Did O'Brien pits? O'Brien still hasn't pitted. I don't know if he's got the memo that you do have to pit at some point. Of course, Benton O'Brien, another driver on the Euro V8 Supercar. So certainly, if any Europeans are interested in racing this supercars, it can be tricky to find an official split at the Euro V8 Supercar Series. You can check out their Facebook page and their website, V8ESC, for more details on that. And of course, if you're Australian, try to sign up to this series for next season. Pretty much all the entries are filled out at the moment, but I imagine there'll be a couple of spots free for next season. Of course, we have the team races as well, which will be coming up next week. And we've got a few more of them, including the season finale at Bathurst as well, towards the end of the championship. So here is Damien Johnston running in 15th place. He's been quick so far as Johnston. He's up 1 place, but I think he lost a few places at the start, so actually had pretty good progress so far in this event. He's half a second behind Reece Keane. Similar tyres for these guys, however, Matt Morris just ahead of these guys on very old tyres, pitted on lap 20. Maybe anticipating that pit stop or that safety car earlier on. But I mean, if we had a safety car right now, how do you think that would affect the race? Do you think that would benefit the drivers who pitted early, or do you think that would benefit the drivers who have pitted late?
Look, if anyone, it's hard to say. I mean, for the guys that pitted early, they're going to find themselves well down the order, and the tyres are going to be pretty well used up. So, if anything, probably going to be a little bit more useful to the guys that came in later on. That being said, for the guys up towards the pointy end within that top 5, 6, they're the ones that are going to get the real benefit. It's going to clear out the track in front of them. They're going to be able to get on with a solid fight. If anything, it's going to make it really harder for everyone outside of that top 10 to work their way forward. You're just going to have this massive pack of cars all sitting on top of each other, and the guys are going to be fighting over sheep stations. And we've seen already tonight that they don't want to give an inch. I would not want to be down towards the mid-pack if there was a safety car.
No, that would be very, very tricky situation to be in. Saw the start of this race where it was ever so close amongst the drivers. Here's Brian Borg. He's got Christian Smart. Smart having a tricky time. What's happened to Smart? Because of course he was running up in the top 10 earlier on. Pitted with many other drivers, anticipating a safety car. However, that proved not to be a bad strategy necessarily. That was on lap 23. I don't know why Smart has dropped down to 21st. Anyone who has an idea on the YouTube chat could let us know potentially. But now got Brian Borg just behind him. Of course, these guys, I think, are lapped down as well, which is remarkable. Seeing that just shows how short this lap is and shows how quick the front runners are. This is maybe going to explain what happened to Smart.
Yeah, it looks like he just lost the rear end on braking there, rotated that car around, and was actually facing the wrong way, so had to almost a double 360 to get going. And I think there might have been Job Stewart involved in that as well. So a couple of guys falling well down as a result of that spin and then ultimate running off.
Thanks to Scott Newton for finding that replay. Wouldn't have been easy to do with all the other stuff going out on circuit. So thanks for digging up that one. But yes, tricky race at the moment for Smart, where it's so well for him, but yeah, dropped outside the top 20 at this point. Matt Morris is still under massive pressure right now from it's Carl Stokes. Second place in the championship, of course, is Stokes, as Smarts and Borg switching positions.
Yeah, nice run there from Borg to get that car down the inside. I think it's also going to bring Paul Preston along for the ride here. You can see him starting to set up a good run there on the back of Christian Smart, so look for that car just easing off actually on the run through the little kink down into turn 2, so not quite able to get that move done, but very solid run there from Borg. Worked on that for a couple of laps trying to get through and ultimately through. Matt Morris running a little wide there and actually now dropping a spot to Kyle Stokes, and actually Damien Johnson as well getting through. So Morris in the space of a couple of corners dropping 3 spots also.
Yeah, that could just be the older tyres. It's going to be tricky for him to retaliate now from this position. I'm seeing Carl Stokes' bonnet as disappearing. I'm not sure if that's a collision that he's had or maybe just on my screen. And look back at the, seems like it's evident on the broadcast as well. So situations for Carl Stokes. This is how he got past just a moment ago past Matt Morris. So Stokes in 12th position now after that, with Keane and Johnson behind. Sutton up into, wow, Sutton's done a good job actually. He's up into 16th. See, they had a drive-through. It's a remarkable comeback. Yeah, that's insane from Sam. So that's where he was a lap down when, yeah, he's not a lap down at the moment, is he? I'm very confused basically. But Sutton doing very good after a drive-through earlier on, and could still get. Oh, Stokes is slow ahead. As Stokes got a slow down, perhaps you can get it through those chicanes. It seems as though he's back up to normal racing speed, but Carl Stokes, just as it was looking good for him, got up into 12th place, drops back down into 15th again.
Yeah, going to be a tough one there for him because Sam's not going to go easy on him here. So it was actually redress collision there, Kyle Stokes on Matt Morris. So that was what we saw from Morris being turned around, so having to drop and allow those guys back through. So that ultimately put him back into a lot of contention with Sam Sutton all over the back now. So he's going to have a huge amount of work to do to get back up. But drop back to the onboard shot there. You can see all 3 of those cars now almost line of stern there. Matt Morris, Kyle Stokes, Sam Sutton, and might jump on board. And we'll keep an eye with Sam Sutton here as he works his way through this final sector of the lap just to see what this car's doing.
Seems as though he can just take a much tighter line. Has a lot more confidence as has Sutton. That's where you got to be quick. Nailing this exit, a little bit kind of off camber. You got the elevation change, such a tricky corner. And of course, going into turn 1, it's not really a proper braking area. You've got this massively fast kink. Got to make sure that you don't dip a wheel onto the grass, otherwise it's very easy to end up in the wall. Maybe a half chance into kind of the second part of turn 1 into turn 2. But couldn't get his car alongside. And we've seen quite a few moves into turn 4 so far in this race. This upcoming right-hander, you can kind of wedge your car on the inside, very tricky for your opponent to really do anything about it. But just not close enough are these guys to get to that. But I don't think it's going to take too long for Morris to be overtaken by these two guys. They are looking a whole lot faster right now.
Yeah, and one thing I am noticing from Morris is you can just see him in the top frame there, just struggling to get that car turned in, so almost squaring off the corner a lot. And this is going to be a huge move here for Stokes. Gets the nose almost down the inside. Morris very defensive, holding it off. This is going to play into Sam's hands here as he gets a pretty good exit, a little bit of oversteer on the exit of the final corner there, but just struggling maybe for a little bit of pace. So will we see Stokes down the inside here? He's certainly setting up for the run.
This is where he tried to get past a few laps ago. Goes down the inside, contact again from the two of them. Oh, and a whole lot of contact. And I wonder if that's going to be a slowdown now for Stokes, because he seemed to be completely off the circuit on that occasion. He's still sticking around the outside. He's got better grip. But now he's going to lose the position, I believe, going into turn 4. He's going to have to be brave around the outside as the 888 car will get on the power slightly earlier. Again, will be on the outside coming off the bridge, and it hasn't worked for him. Sam Sutton gains that place. It was difficult to call, but you could see it from a mile off him going for that move into turn 2. And once it happened, they both were just fighting over the same piece of circuit, as Christian Smart and Robert Chrisdale have both just had an off. I think it's quite a serious off as well for the two of them. They've dropped further down the order.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on where those two fall back in. We might see if we can get a replay on that, but that was a fantastic little battle between both of those. Here we are with that issue there for Rob Chrisdale, right on board and keeping up.
It's remarkable how we haven't had a safety car in this race. We've had a few near misses, but maybe just the length of this track, it's not too tricky to get your car back to the pits and go get a faster pair. Maybe that's an element compared to somewhere like Spa, for example, where we visited in the first round of the championship, where it seems like everywhere is a long way away from the pits at Spa. Rob Chrisdale then trying to regain those places. He didn't lose up too bad, but you can see he's got a lot of damage now on that machine. He's down into 25th place, start 16 places from his start. A few of these guys back as well, and the leaders, I think, as well.
Yeah, we saw Chrisdale too just getting a move done on Jaden Borg as well, so that Penrite car right behind going to get back into contention as well. But Chrisdale, after that little bit of an issue, coming back pretty well now. He's got the car Christian Smart just ahead, so potential for another position gain for him pretty.
They lost about 9 seconds, it seems, from that instant. Oh, well, Philip Worley's lost the front half of his car, it seems, from an incident. That's a whole lot of damage on that car. I don't believe the new damage mod is coming to the V8 Supercars, unfortunately. But fingers crossed, maybe for the next build, or maybe even a mid-season build. Adam Briggs, where is this? In 28th place. Trying to get so Worley dropping down the order still. I think he's really struggling, is Worley at the moment, just at a 1:10. That's 4 seconds off the pace. So that damage hindering him significantly. Surprised he hasn't got a meatball. And like I say, we've got some of the top drivers as well in amongst this. McMullen and Hines and Latzer and Bennett will all catch these guys towards the end of the race. There they are.
Yeah, it won't take them long to get involved in all that, because the pace from these guys currently very, very good. So we'll keep an eye on that. Tom Sins just inside that top 10, currently sitting 9th, having a pretty solid run, must be said for him, up 10 spots from where he started the race, so be very eventful for him, and he'll get a nice haul of points, which is ultimately going to help him out for the championship as well.
Yeah, and in a championship where Jazz have struggled to get consistent results, and 9th place finish is a very good result. Matt Morris just sliding ahead. Is that for 15th place? Oh, he's still defending against Stokes. How is he doing this? I mean, honestly, we could just watch these two go at it all day long. Well, just a painful day for Carl Stokes. Tricky start. I think he's had the pace to probably battle for a top 6 finish, I reckon, but everything's gone against him. Morris with a slide coming out of turn 2. This is where we saw a move earlier on going into 4. Same thing is going to happen on this occasion. Remember, Morris with 6-lap older tyres than his rival. 4-lap older tyres, apologies.
Yeah, and those tyres very, very used right now. But what this defence is doing, though, is ultimately bringing David Kidman in that yellow car behind. So we're seeing him close up for Pursuit Sim Racing. So this will be a good little scrap. I have noticed, though, that since Sam Sutton was able to get released from these guys, he's actually found himself right now on the back of Reece Keane, only a couple of spots up and challenging for that 9th position as well. So Sam's got a really good turn of pace at the moment, actually getting that move done already. So Sam coming along very, very nicely, and these 3 behind are going to be in for a huge scrap with just on 12 laps still to go in the remainder of this race.
Has Freya got past Talyancic recently? Freya in 6th position ahead of Talyancic. Of course, they are teammates, so I'm not sure how competitively they're racing, but this is impressive from Freya to take it to a very established driver in Talyancic. Has Talyancic got involved in the back markers, perhaps? Or a spin in front of him, that could have been O'Brien potentially. And Talyancic having to take evasive action. Freya moves past and up into 6th place. So I don't think it's going to make too much of a difference. They are by themselves, so same points for the team. They're 12 seconds behind Davison. It's been a little bit surprising considering that they got much fresher tyres than Davison, that they haven't been able to catch up. 10 laps to go then in this race, and we've barely shown the front runners at all, let alone the race leader. But really, all the battling has been going on outside the top 10 places. So Gilliam leads 4 seconds ahead of Ross. James Scott actually closing in recently. He was 0.8 of a second fast on that last lap, but you can kind of just tell it's the traffic which is the deciding factor. And now you can see Scott having to make his way past some traffic himself, although he's not lost too much time. They're slaloming through the middle, and actually has worked out pretty well there. So he's 1.6 seconds behind Ross. Then we've got James McKee in 4th, Danny Davison in 5th, then a massive gap back of 13 seconds to Tom Freer in 6th. Michael Tajancic, his teammate, just behind him. There's Marlon McCullum by himself in 8th, Thomas Hines by himself in 9th, and Kenneth Latzer in 10th, just ahead of Jet Bennett currently. Damien Johnston, is he closing in at all? Johnston, I believe he is. 1 minute 6.1, now 1 minute 6.4, so getting a few tenths of a second. But I think we'll need something to happen to the guys ahead if he's going to close that in. Keane and Sutton going side by side just behind these guys. There they are. Sutton on the outside now going into this next corner, so you'd expect Keane to have a better opportunity. Now we're seeing the inside line into this next corner, absolutely pivotal so far, but the momentum for Sutton is enough to carry him past into 13th place. Great drive after that drive through county.
Yeah, been a fantastic recovery there for Sam, and I mean, again, just showing what he's capable in that car. Going around the outside, it's not a mean feat. Down through 4, and as you say, that momentum working very, very nicely for him to push him further up. Still got a fair gap though between himself and Damien Johnson, just on a 1.5 seconds up the road. So those guys will definitely be closing in. As you can see, the car's all ahead, and that's Damien Johnson with the Valvoline sponsorship on the front there. So a lot of work for them. Adam Briggs in a good, strong battle here. He's got Jaden Board from Stelson Force Racing alongside him and trying to get this move done over the bridge, which can be done, but that was almost contact there for both those cars.
That was very good driving there from the driver battling with Briggs, Jaden Board, to leave him space coming off the bridge. Otherwise, that certainly would have been contact. Briggs going in a little bit hot, and as we were talking about right at the top of the show, as he was saying, in real life, drivers struggling with the rear end of the car coming off the bridge, and that was certainly the case for Briggs there. He's got 4-lap older tyres, in fact, as Briggs, but clearly is a lot faster. Philip Worley on their tail, but of course missing much of his car, and I think maybe not struggling too much through the corners, but down the straights, that's aerodynamic. Not helping him too much. Shedding a bit of weight. I imagine that wouldn't be too legal now, that car. Down the inside goes Briggs onto the curb. And this is looking like a similar situation to what it was on the last lap. However, he's got more of his car alongside this time. And now contact just behind. Trying to take advantage of it was Philip Worley. Had to get almost completely off the circuit as Borg tried to close the line, and Briggs scampers away. Now, we've lost that three-way battle, but now got a four-way battle because Varga and Anspach are with those guys.
Yeah, and Borg won't be too happy with that because it looked like we saw that car of Phil Worley just locking those rears and sliding it in almost MotoGP style into the corner there, and that little bit of contact really upsetting the car there at Borg. But we have now got a very solid pack here, 5 cars getting involved in that. As you say, Steve Varga's in it, Phil Worley in it, and these guys will really want to get their move on to get a good one. Chris Aspich in there, Steve Varga having a great run, although locking that brake, and will retain that spot, but it's a hard move. He will drop 2 spots here.
You might be able to just get away with the one. No, you're right. Yeah, dropping the 2 spaces. Well, that was Marlon McCullum, sorry, who got past. So only 1 place possible. Has Sutton got past Johnston? I'm just looking, they're very close on the screen. He was ahead before. No, Sutton's staying ahead of Johnston. Maybe made the move on the last lap. Now,
yeah, really continuing that march forward, isn't he? He's got, what is it now, 5 seconds up to Jeff Bennett, so potential with 5 laps to go, or actually 6 at this point, to maybe get another spot here, which would be great news for him.
Yep, and still clean is that car. Most of the cars to be fair on circuit are quite clean, just a few of the others in the kind of bottom part of the mid-pack. Job Stewart has had an off. Also, this is a replay of what happened to Damien Johnston, maybe how he lost this place to Sam Sutton. Gap between 2nd and 3rd really closing down. Now, so Philip Worley, by the way, has had another off. Has dropped him. No, he's still in 28th place, to be fair. Jim Knight's also having a little bit of an off track. But yeah, the gap between 2nd and 3rd now between Ross and Scott down to 0.8 of a second. These two, are they teammates? I think they're both Synergy Sim Racing now, aren't they?
Yeah, I think we did see them coming together, so probably, yeah. Actually, yeah, Ross, definitely Synergy.
Yeah, both Synergy now. Apologies if maybe that's slightly incorrect on your screen, but yeah, both them moving from ERT to Synergy. Apologies. Scott is still James Scott is still ERT, getting that one slightly wrong. But so I guess they aren't teammates, but still maybe some friendship, I assume, from these guys, so they don't want to take each other out, but certainly for their spectator. Oh, as Scott's, oh dear, spinning rounds. dipping a wheel onto the grass. He may not lose the place to James McKee at least. Where is McKee? He's just behind. This is going to be close. This is McKee's probably one chance, while Scott is still going to get back up to speed. I think that's the first mistake we've seen from the championship leader or championship.
Yeah, it's probably the first one I've seen really where that's going to hurt him a lot. Obviously, the dirt on the tyres is not going to be great. Good awareness from Borg not to get involved in that one, but this is everything James McKee needed to close up and get back up into that third position. So Scott now with just on 4 laps to go, a lot of work here now to try and hold off the car, the Pursuit Sim Racing car there of James McKee.
Six seconds then Scott lost. It would have been tricky to get past Ross anyway, and it wasn't an overtaking move. It was just a case of trying to get as close as he possibly could, maybe just pushing too hard. And he was fortunate that he didn't go further up into the wall potentially. Now 0.3 of a second the gap between third and fourth. So as long as Scott doesn't make another mistake, he should be all right. But McKee has had good pace in this second half of the event. Starts in fourth place, of course. Scott's up 3 places after a sublime start. Got up into fourth place very early on, then stayed behind. I believe it was Danny Davison in the opening stages. Managed to get the pit stop to work for him. And looked as though he was on course for a second place, but instead a podium, which he has claimed at every single round of the championship, I believe, so far this season. Looks like a podium is going to come his way. By the way, Morris still ahead of Stokes. I mean, give that man a medal, because how he's been able to keep behind Carl Stokes is beyond me. I mean, to be fair, he hasn't. He did have to be let back past at one point in this event, but still is remaining ahead. Yeah,
I'm surprised those tyres have lasted as long as they've lasted. He's doing a great job here, though. James Mackey's, we still focus on that little scrap fighting on. But, yeah, this is going to be really interesting to see how this last spot for this podium does finish out. Obviously, they've got about 3 seconds up the road from Davison. You can just see back a frame there in the EXG car. Don't think he'll get this one done, but this fight ever closer. There's a couple of spots I'm noticing Scott's just that little bit quicker, but Mackie overall seems to be a little bit more poised at this point.
He looks much faster, doesn't he, than James Scott? This is unusual. And Scott just using up those tyres a bit too much. How much traffic have they got in front of them? Because we are moving on to the last lap of the race, so any stuff directly ahead of them will likely make a difference. They've got the 555 car just ahead. That's someone I think really laid down the order. So here we are then, final lap of the race. Gilliam leading 6 seconds ahead of Scott. Apologies, 6 seconds ahead of Ross, then it's Scott. And McKee still with an opportunity to get past. 0.2 of a second at the moment between the two of them. Has McKee been able to get any closer into turn 3? Doesn't look like it. Scott just slowing the car on the apex, making sure they get the exit of these corners absolutely perfect. As Gilliam now going through these final few corners, you can see the amount of traffic ahead of him. He'll be pleased that this race isn't going on too much longer. He's lapped everyone up to 17th position. Absolutely incredible. Here comes Andrew Gilliam, who rounds the final corner here at Oran Park, and he's going to take his first race win of the season. The 201 Cup for Pursuit Sim Racing takes round 6 of the season in the Acuta AOSC Super Series. Jordan Ross finishes in second place. Has McKee got Scott right at the end? I think he has. Has Scott run out of fuel? He's ever so slow right at the end. And it's James McKee who finishes on the podium. Scott finishes off the podium for the first time in a long time, but certainly first time this season. The rest of the drivers coming across the line. Taliancic loses out to Freya in the end. Bennett is trying to get past Kenneth Latzer. This is for a 10th position. We've already seen one move on the run to the line so far today. Are we going to see another? It's a better line for the driver trailing. However, it's not close enough on the run to the line for Jeff Bennett to get past, and only a couple of other drivers to cross the line. Could we get a replay, Scott, potentially of that run to line for James Scott? Because I think he genuinely did run out of fuel. It just seems like he didn't accelerate from the final corner at all, and then had to come to a halt very soon after the checker flag.
Yeah, it was an interesting way, the way that finished out. We're going to jump back here on board, and we'll keep a good look at this as we ride with Scott. We'll listen to this motor to see whether it does. Yeah, it looked like he was able to keep it in there. We'll jump on board with James Mackey, though.
I think this is lap 55, so we need to go a couple of laps later than this if we possibly can. But yeah, whatever happened to him, it's third place then for James McKee. Yeah, this is lap 56. It didn't seem like he was fuel saving at all, and might just ride on board with this to through the final lap potentially. See what happened to him, but yeah, it's worst finish off the season then, Scott, which is I mean, more of a compliment to the rest of his championship. He doesn't really lose many points in the championship whatsoever, because still outscores second place in the championship quite significantly.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we saw at the start, it's still 600 points clear of him of second place. So this race, while not the best, still going to give quite a lot of good points holder to continue on the fantastic run towards the championship.
Yeah, definitely. Of course, next up we head to Montreal as well, where Scott will be back with his teammates. So far, Perfect have the ERT 088 team so far this season. Oh, is it the 144? I think it's the 088 team. Have been absolutely sublime so far this season. So you'd certainly back them to win on that occasion as well.
Yeah, and as we watched that car go across the line, it just coughed and spluttered about 100 metres before the end there. So very unfortunate for James Scott to drop that position and ultimately come home in that fourth position.
Yep, so that's everyone across the line, and we can go through the final results. And it's Andrew Gilliam from pole position, who wins out, controlling drive, never really looked in too much doubt. Jordan Ross gave him a good run for his money, but finished 6 seconds off. Still good result for the 143 car. James McKee finished in third place on the run to the line, gets him past James Scott. Danny Davison was pretty close actually to getting past Scott as well, only 0.8 of a second between them two in the end in fifth. Tom Freer, great result for him, I think his best result of the season, ahead of Michael Taliancic. Marlon McCullum, great drive through the order, 13 places gained into 8th, with Thomas Hines and Kenneth Latzer rounding out the top 10. There's Jet Bennett, Sam Sutton, Damien Johnston, Reese Keane, Matt Morris, David Kimmon was the last driver on the lead lap. Also up 19 places was Kimmon. Nice work. Carl Stokes was 1 lap down in 17th. That's Brett Loxton, Brian Borg and Job Stewart rounding out the top 20. Behind that was Paul Preston, Paul Lee, Christian Smart, Adam Briggs, Philip Worley, Jaden Borg, Craig Anspach, Scott Gamble, Stephen Varga, Jamie McKnight, David Miller, Chris Barnes. 2 laps down was Andrew Dyson, Greg Sharp, Daniel Misdale. 3 laps down was Gavin Cox, Tony Gapper, Rob Bowden and Daniel Ackland. And then the retirees from today's event, Brenton O'Brien, Simon Vella, Stuart Crawford, Todd Parks and Alex Port. So, interviews then for the interviews for round 6 of the season in the Acuta AOSC Super Series. And I think who are we going to have a chat with? I don't think we've got... Oh yeah, we do have Gilliam. Apologies, I am blind, clearly. Clearly he's not blind, because he drove a superb race, did Andrew Gilliam, to take his first race victory of the season. Congratulations, Andrew. I mean, it looked comfortable out there. How was it in the driver's seat?
Very, 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 very not comfortable, I assure you. That was one of the most stressful races I've ever had. There's no time you'd ever think, oh, you've got a good 3 to 4 second gap, you know, cruise home. No. That was, I didn't blink at all, man. It was just chaos from the drop of the flag.
Was it the traffic then which was really tricky to deal with? Because you must have lapped probably about, 60 cars across the race? It was insane.
Yeah, it's a really strange dynamic. Like, I'm trying to, towards the end in the second stint, my sort of focus isn't on like getting laps and racing Jordan. The whole dynamic is keeping cars between myself and Jordan, and yeah, it just completely changed the way you looked at the race in the driver's seat. But yeah, it was just, and they're having their own race too, so I understand that they don't want to particularly give up their race to let me go through, but so yeah, I do really commend those who did let me pass. I do really respect them, and I think most of the lap traffic did a really good job tonight.
In qualifying, we saw you take pole by 1/1000th of a second. Would you say that was the difference today? Do you think whoever started on pole, whoever got through the first few corners ahead, was going to win the race? How important do you think that grid place was?
Well, for me, I was able to stretch out that good 2-second lead in the first 2 laps, and I probably wouldn't have had that had I started in second. So I was able to bank on a comfortable lead for most of that race, which meant I could take it easier on the lap cars. I know Jordan probably would have had a tougher time with the lap traffic because he was under pressure to overtake them, whereas I could sort of pick and choose my moments. But yeah, I think that was really, really important. So yeah, the race probably would have been double the intensity had I been 2 milliseconds slower in qualifying.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, what do you think of this Oran Park circuit? Do you particularly like it? Did you like the dynamic today with the lapping the traffic as you were talking about, or do you prefer kind of the more traditional circuit, slightly longer, slightly easier to kind of negotiate with those back markers?
Oh, they're in their own rights. They're both sort of fun, and this is definitely more stressful. If I had the choice, I would prefer a race where I was comfortably leading at, say, Spa, where you've got, 3 times the amount of track to sort of play with. The only real difficulty with this track is qualifying, I find, because if there's like 50 cars on tracks and it's a minute-long track, that's just over a second per car, sort of on average spaced out around the track. So qualifying was really, really, really tricky in that sense. So yeah, if you gave me the choice, I'd definitely go for a longer racetrack, that's for sure.
Well, either way, you still managed to win up very impressively. Congratulations, Andrew. Is there anyone you'd like to thank before you say goodbye?
I'd love to give a massive shout out to MXTV and Track Racer for all their support. And again, our team, we've just put on another amazing show, and I'm so proud of our team. I couldn't be here without them, so massive shout out to the team once again, and thank you guys so much for the commentary.
Thank you very much, Andrew, and best of luck for Montreal next week.
Cool, thank you very much, guys.
So that was Andrew Gilliam, your race winner for today. Daniel, who do you fancy having a chat with now?
Look, well, I think we must bring up second place Jordan Ross, and we'll have a chat with him to see how his race unfolded. Here he is. G'day, Jordan, mate. Congratulations, second position tonight. A fantastic drive for you, not only in qualifying but in the race, and an excellent result on your return to Synergy Sim Racing. How was it out there tonight for you?
Yeah, thanks, guys. No, it was really good. It's great to be back at home at Synergy, and great to kick things off with a podium. But the car was great. The lap traffic was a bit crazy, so I think I maybe could have got to the back of Andrew, but there's no way I would have got past him. He did a great job tonight, so well done to those guys over there for shoot.
Yeah, definitely. Well, let's start off at qualifying. Talk us through that, because we saw yourself and him almost identical lap times as far as timing recognised. There's nothing between you at all. How was the car throughout the course of that, and do you think you potentially had anywhere you may have gained that little fraction to almost have pushed the top step?
Yeah, I'm always just dropping on the wrong side of those things. So one day the luck will go my way and I'll drop on the other side. But I mean, we all think we can go fast. I thought, yes, I could go faster, but I tried and I tried, and ultimately I didn't go faster. So yeah, probably that's all I had. I did see the time pop up from Andrew, and I thought I was almost safe there with a couple of minutes to go, but yeah, and then off the start, that pole position, he was sort of on the better line for the start, and he just got sort of a car length or two on me, and that was enough for him to sort of kick on.
Yeah, well, we noticed that the opening race or start of the race, he was able to build quite a good lap or lead, about 2.5 seconds, I think, at its peak. But was your sort of game plan coming in just to take it a bit easy? Obviously, it's a pretty tough circuit going around Oran Park, very short lap time, a lot of traffic out there. Were you just looking to conserve the pace, keep it as consistent as possible, maybe extend that fuel window to set yourself up for that good run home?
No, I was just going as fast as I could. I pulled the gap back a little bit, and I think we got it down to just over a second at one point, but like just one little mistake. We were just both making little mistakes at this corner and that corner, and I was sort of, the gap was seesawing, but we were probably pretty equal on pace. I think maybe if I got pole and I got in front, like who knows what could happen, but I think our pace was pretty equal tonight.
Yeah, definitely. And then obviously the last 5 to 10 laps, you had James Scott really closing in, applying a lot of pressure there. Were you thinking there were some areas of the track where he could potentially look to get the ERT car down, or were you playing it pretty safe? And obviously we know ultimately what happened. We had the spin off, but how was that with the pressure being applied from there?
Nah, had him the whole time. He'll like me saying that. But I was just sort of, prior to that happening, the rears were going a little bit, so I knew he'd come, so I was trying to just protect the rears so I had something when he got to me. I don't know, I haven't seen what happened to him, but he's going good. I think he'd still be leading the championship, and those guys over at ERT are hard to beat at the best of times, so yeah, good to get one up on James finally.
Yeah, definitely. And next week we are back to the endurance format at Montreal circuit. I know you've had some good running out the past in. Expecting some good things for yourself and Synergy there. We know Synergy guys very, very good on the long run. How are your thoughts going forward to that one?
Yeah, I'll be back with Kyle. Kyle's come over to Synergy, and we'll work during the week and find something that we like. And we, like this year, we haven't been that good at the enduros. Like, we've been finishing, I think, just top 5 and stuff. But I think next week we've sort of found something in this car that we've been lacking. Well, I've sort of found something direction. So hopefully we can make it work in Montreal.
Fantastic, mate. Well, again, congratulations on second tonight. Certainly looking forward to seeing how you guys go next week out at Montreal. But before we let you go, is there anyone you'd like to give a thanks to for helping out?
Yeah, firstly, big thanks, public thanks to ERT for having me for the year. It was great, and especially Brenton, who was fantastic with me wanting to go back to Synergy and go home there. And thanks to Michael and Brenton and everyone for having me back and welcoming me back into the team. It's like I never left. It's great to be back, loving it. Thanks to JK Signs, Posie's Mechanical Repairs, DGD, and everyone else that supports Synergy. Thanks.
Cheers, mate, and all the best for next week out there. Sam, I'll hand back over to you, mate. We've got James Mackey standing along, third place finisher tonight.
Yes, congratulations, James, on that podium. First up, coming out of the final corner, did you think that James might have a little bit of an issue with fuel, or was it a complete surprise when you stormed straight past him on the run to the line?
Yeah, it was definitely a complete surprise. Nearly ran up the back end of him. So, yeah, I thought I was just going to sit in fourth and finish there, but yeah, got third. So it's pretty cool.
Really seems as though in the second half of the race, your pace was very strong. I think in the first stint you were about 10 seconds behind, then in the second stint you kind of maintained that gap. Were you a bit more confident in that second stint? Did you enjoy dealing with the traffic?
Yeah, the traffic was pretty hard to manage. It was pretty hard to tell how your pace was compared to other people, because you weren't sure how much they were getting affected. Sort of just had to run the race and see where I ended up at the end.
Absolutely. And what was your thinking when it came to the strategy? We saw a few drivers seemingly anticipate a safety car at one point. Were you one of those drivers? Kind of what were you thinking when you came to the pits?
Yeah, I just saw a car sort of backed into a fence with the engine blown up, so I just assumed there was going to be a safety car. I think Andrew and Jordan might have came in before me on the same lap as well. So yeah, I sort of just thought there was going to be a safety car, but yeah.
And next up, we head to Montreal for a team race as well. How do you feel about that circuit? It's not too dissimilar to this one, I guess. Tight, twisty. Yeah, is that one that you enjoy?
Yeah, definitely. It's a fun track. I did miss the Scops round, so I'll have to get some practice in and see how we end.
Absolutely. And of course, now in the championship, I think you might be up into second place in the championship potentially. So, I mean, that's looking pretty strong. Do you think you've got a chance at catching up to James Scott in the second half of the season?
I don't know. It's going to be hard considering his pace, but who knows? We'll see how it.
Well, certainly we wish you the best of luck for that one, James. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to before we say goodbye?
That's a big shout out to MXTV and Track Racer and all the boys at Pursuit. Cheers.
Awesome. Thanks for having a chat with us, James, and best of luck for next week.
Cheers.
So that was James McKee, who just about got third position right at the end, past James Scott. So, Daniel, I mean, looking forward to next week. Yeah, another team race, 650 kilometers. With these team changes potentially, of course, Synergy Racing not being, I guess it'll be the same driver lineup, but under a different name. Do you think that's going to perhaps give them the boost they need to really take it to ERT, to take for the first time take an endurance race off their hands?
Yeah, I think they're going to come on really strong. I know previously when both Jordan and Kyle were teamed together at Synergy, they're a very strong pairing, and we saw a lot of good things from those boys. So expecting similar things again now following their rejoin with the team. I think they'll do very, very well. Probably the other couple of teams that I think are going to be very, very good, and we're certainly going to need to keep an eye on as well. United Esports, new team, only formed a couple of weeks ago. They've got Harley Haber on board, Nick Cummings, Forzen Nabi, and Jamie McKnight. We know they were very strong, all four of those drivers in the early few rounds as well when we had the endurance. So look for that team to come along. ERT still going to be a hard team to get past. We know James Scott is very, very good. Obviously, took out the first 4 rounds. Had an extremely good championship lead going into tonight. Unfortunately, probably not the way he wanted to finish, but still in a great race. So you can never discount those guys. So I think we're going to have some fantastic running all up and down throughout the field. I'm really looking forward to seeing what the guys can bring. And Montreal, as we know, you've got that really tricky final chicane where the guys go through the wall of champions. It's claimed so many cars, and we know how good these V8 supercars ride those curbs. So that'll be interesting to see what we can get out of that. But for the circuit in general, it delivers a fantastic amount of racing, which I can't wait to go and see again.
Absolutely. So they'll be back with you, of course, on the iRacing Esports Network at the same time next week. Before we say goodbye, of course, we'll give a big thanks to all the sponsors once again of the series. Acuta Solutions, providing rigging, hardware and safety equipment. Next Level Racing, doing flight cockpits and racing cockpits as well. Abruzzi Racewear, doing custom and real racing gear. Motum simulations. We have VR racing centres around Australia, Night Rider designs, creating personal liveries for drivers and teams on iRacing. Wolf Graphics doing personalised stickers and signs. Sam Blacklock Media, he will be doing all the race highlight photos for this round of the championship, along with all the other rounds of the championship. Certainly do check out the AOSC Facebook page for that. And Race Management Service doing the live race control and setting up the sessions this season. Of course, if you've liked this video, please do leave a like on it, and do subscribe to the iRacing Esports Network, because there's loads of other content, of course, on featuring more supercars, of course, plus single seaters. We've got multi-class action, endurance action, TCRs, absolutely everything that you could hope for on the iRacing Esports Network. And also do check out Apex Racing TV as well, our local channel, where you'll see even more broadcasts like this. But for now, from me, from Daniel, and from Scott, we're going to say goodbye, and we'll see you next time.